What if the quest for a single, perfect philosophy of life is the very thing preventing you from living a good one? What if the secret to navigating our turbulent modern world isn't finding one infallible compass, but building a ship sturdy enough to handle any storm, equipped with a whole suite of navigational tools? We live in an age that glorifies finding your one true thing, your one passion, your one purpose, your one guiding principle. But the ancients, who lived through times of plague, war, and political collapse far more chaotic than our own, understood a deeper truth. They knew that a well-lived life wasn't a rigid destination, but a dynamic, challenging, and ultimately beautiful voyage of discovery. Today, we're exploring a book that is itself a profound paradox. It's called Beyond Stoicism, and it's written by three dedicated, practicing Stoics: Massimo Pigliucci, Gregory Lopez, and Meredith Alexander Kunz. Think about that for a moment. Why would people who have found immense value in a particular philosophy write a book encouraging you to look beyond it? This isn't a flaw, it's the entire point. They've discovered that while Stoicism is a powerful port in the storm, the sea of wisdom is vast and filled with other islands, other harbors, each offering unique treasures for the intrepid soul. The core problem this book addresses is a subtle but pervasive one. Many of us feel a deep yearning for a framework for living. We sense the creeping anxiety of a world without clear guideposts, a world of endless choices and uncertain futures. This has led to a massive resurgence in ancient philosophies, especially Stoicism, which promises resilience and a calm mind in the face of chaos. But this can lead to a new kind of trap: philosophical dogmatism. We find one school of thought that resonates, and we cling to it, believing we've found the one and only answer for everyone, for all time. We become, in a sense, philosophically rigid. The authors of Beyond Stoicism argue that this rigidity is not only unnecessary, it's counterproductive. The grand promise of this book is not to give you a new, better philosophy. It's to give you something far more valuable: the tools, the history, and the confidence to become your own philosopher. It invites you on a guided tour of the great philosophical traditions of ancient Greece and Rome, not as a dry academic exercise, but as a living, breathing exploration. It proposes that you don't have to choose between feeling good, being good, and thinking well. Instead, you can learn to navigate between the port of pleasure, the port of character, and the port of doubt, taking the best maps, tools, and provisions from each. This book is a declaration that a life of meaning is not something you find. It is something you build, piece by piece, with intention, wisdom, and the courage to look beyond the horizon. It's a handbook for the philosophical eclectic, the curious seeker who suspects that the richest life is one that draws from many wells of wisdom. Our journey begins, perhaps counterintuitively for a book titled Beyond Stoicism, in the most primal and immediate of all philosophical harbors, the port of pleasure. Who among us doesn't want a life filled with joy and free from pain? The authors argue that this is our default setting, a biological inheritance designed by evolution to ensure our survival. But as we all know, the unexamined pursuit of pleasure can lead to the hedonic treadmill, that endless, exhausting cycle of chasing the next thrill, the next purchase, the next fleeting high, only to find ourselves right back where we started, unfulfilled and wanting more. The ancients were acutely aware of this trap, and they developed two profoundly different strategies to master the art of pleasure, rather than being enslaved by it. The first is Cyrenaicism, the philosophy of Aristippus. If Epicureanism is often misunderstood as the philosophy of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the authors clarify that this label more accurately belongs to the Cyrenaics. They were the original, unapologetic hedonists. Aristippus, a student of Socrates, scandalized Athens by openly enjoying fine foods, luxurious living, and the company of the famous courtesan Lathas of Corinth. When his critics chastised him for associating with a woman who had been with countless men, he wittily retorted, "Is there any difference between buying a house where many once lived and one where no one lived?" For Aristippus, the highest good was immediate, physical pleasure, experienced in the here and now. But this wasn't a call for mindless indulgence. The crucial Cyrenaic insight was a principle he famously declared about his relationship with Lass: "I possess her, but I am not possessed by her." The goal was to own your pleasures, not to let your pleasures own you. This meant developing a sharp mind and a strong will to enjoy the finer things without becoming dependent on them. Aristippus was happy to accept money from the tyrant Dionysius I, But he cared so little for money itself that he once told his servant to pour away a heavy load of coins, keeping only what was easy to carry. He understood that an insatiable desire for more couches, more estates, more things was a sickness. The true art was to derive maximum enjoyment from what was present, without being owned by the craving for what was absent. The book gives us practical exercises to live like a Cyrenaic for a week, not by going on a wild binge, but by intentionally introducing small, heightened pleasures into our lives and, just as importantly, learning to recognize the point of enough. It's about savoring one delicious gelato, not four. It's about finding the beauty in what's available rather than suffering over what isn't. But the port of pleasure has another, more serene harbor: Epicureanism. Epicurus offered a radically different vision of the pleasurable life. The book paints a vivid picture of his famous garden, a community just outside Athens where men, women, and even slaves lived together in tranquil obscurity. The motto carved on the gate reads, "Stranger, here you will do well to tarry, here our highest good is pleasure." But for Epicurus, the highest pleasure wasn't a thrilling sensation, it was the complete absence of pain and distress. He called these states aponia, the absence of physical pain, and ataraxia, the absence of mental disturbance or fear. This, he argued, was the true natural state of human happiness. To achieve this, Epicurus devised a brilliant system for managing desire. He categorized desires into three types: first, natural and necessary, like the need for simple food, shelter, and friendship. These, he noted, are easy to satisfy. Second, natural but not necessary, like gourmet meals and luxurious houses. These are harder to obtain and can lead to pain if unfulfilled. Third, and most dangerously, are the unnatural and unnecessary desires, like fame, political power, and immense wealth. These are limitless, a guaranteed recipe for perpetual anxiety. The Epicurean path, therefore, is one of down-to-earth simplicity. It's not about renouncing pleasure, but about finding profound pleasure in what is simple and easily attainable: a piece of bread, a sip of water, and the cherished company of good friends. The book contrasts this with the Cyrenaic focus on intense, kinetic pleasures by highlighting the Epicurean emphasis on static or katastematic pleasures. The joy of eating a meal is fleeting, the tranquility that comes from conquering the fear of death is enduring. This is all encapsulated in Epicurus' powerful fourfold remedy: don't fear God. Don't worry about death. What is good is easy to get. What is terrible is easy to endure. By exploring these two competing visions of pleasure, the book doesn't ask you to choose one. It asks you to think deeply about what feeling good truly means to you. Is it the thrill of the moment, or the deep, abiding peace of a mind free from turmoil? From the sun-drenched port of pleasure, our voyage takes us to a more rugged and demanding coastline, the port of character. This is the heartland of many of the most famous ancient philosophies, where the central question shifts from what feels good to who should I be. The authors present four major schools here, not as separate islands, but as a continuous landscape exploring the nature of virtue, or read a Greek word better translated as excellence. The first stop is with Aristotle, perhaps the most commonsensical of the ancient ethicists. For Aristotle, a flourishing life eudaimonia required a combination of virtue and a reasonable share of external goods like health, friendship, and resources. He famously argued that virtue is a golden path between two opposing vices of excess and deficiency. Courage, for example, is the mean between rashness and cowardice. Generosity is the mean between prodigality and stinginess. But this isn't a simple mathematical average. The book uses Aristotle's brilliant example of Milo the wrestler. A moderate diet for a massive, training athlete like Milo would be excessive for a regular person. The mean is relative to the individual and their circumstances, discovered through practical wisdom and careful reasoning. The book emphasizes a crucial distinction in Aristotle's thought: the difference between being merely continent and being truly virtuous. The continent person does the right thing, but only through a constant, painful struggle against their desires. The truly virtuous person, however, desires to do the right thing. For them, acting with excellence is effortless and beautiful. This leads to one of the most inspiring ideas in the book, Aristotle's concept of tekalon, the beautiful. Virtuous actions are not just right, they are beautiful in and of themselves, pursued for their own sake, like a masterpiece of art. Next, we encounter the Stoics and the towering figure of Epictetus. Born a slave, lamed by his cruel master, and later a celebrated teacher in Rome, Epictetus' life was a testament to the core Stoic principle: we must live in accordance with nature. For the Stoics, this meant recognizing the two things that make us uniquely human: our capacity for reason and our profoundly social nature. A good human life, therefore, is one in which we use reason to live in harmony with others. Epictetus provides the ultimate practical tool for this, his fundamental rule of life, often called the dichotomy of control. He states some things are up to us, while others are not. Up to us are our judgments, our motivations, our desires and aversions, our inner world. Not up to us is everything else: our body, our reputation, our wealth, the actions of others. The Stoic path to tranquility and virtue lies in focusing all our energy on what is up to us and accepting what is not with equanimity. This isn't about passive resignation, it's about a radical shift in focus. The book illustrates this with Cicero's metaphor of the archer. The archer can control their practice, their choice of bow, their aim, but they cannot control the sudden gust of wind that diverts the arrow. The goal is to be an excellent archer, not to guarantee a hit every time. But the port of character contains even more radical shores. We meet the cynics, most famously represented by Diogenes of Sinope and the remarkable woman philosopher, Hipparchia. If the Stoics saw externals as preferred, the cynics saw them as an obstacle. For them, virtue alone was sufficient for happiness, and they proved it by living a life stripped of all convention. They lived in the streets, owned nothing but a cloak and a staff, and defied every social norm with their sharp wit and shocking behavior. Diogenes, when asked by Alexander the Great what he could do for him, famously replied, "Stand out of my light." The cynics championed three forms of freedom: eleutheria, liberty from social conventions; autarkia, radical self-sufficiency; and parrhesia, bold and fearless speech, especially to those in power. Hipparchia's story is particularly powerful. Born to a noble family, she rejected a comfortable, arranged marriage to live the austere cynic life with her partner, Crates. When challenged by a man at a dinner party that she should be at home weaving, she used sharp logic to defend her choice, demonstrating that the pursuit of education was a more worthy use of her time. The cynics force us to ask unsettling questions. How many of our pursuits are driven by a genuine need for flourishing? And how many are just blind obedience to social pressure? Finally, the book guides us to a different aspect of character: the political. It focuses on Plato's daring attempts to create a just society in Syracuse by educating its ruler, Dionysius Sui. After the execution of his mentor, Socrates, by the Athenian democracy, Plato became convinced that a society could only be just if its rulers were philosophers, or if philosophers became rulers. His journeys to Syracuse were a real-world attempt to put his political philosophy from the Republic into practice. He failed repeatedly, but his story reveals a crucial dimension of character: the courage to try to build a better world, to apply philosophical principles not just to one's own life, but to the life of the community. It connects the inner work of cultivating a just soul with the outer work of building a just society. Across this vast port, the central theme is the development of an excellent, resilient, and beautiful inner self as the foundation of a life well lived. Having explored the pursuit of pleasure and the cultivation of character, our voyage now sails into the misty, intellectually challenging waters of the port of doubt. This section explores the philosophies that question the very possibility of certainty, suggesting that wisdom may not lie in finding the right answers, but in mastering the art of asking the right questions. The journey begins with the fountainhead of Western philosophy himself, Socrates. The book rightly calls his philosophy Socraticism because he didn't found a school with a fixed doctrine. He ignited a method, a way of being in the world. We are reminded of the famous story of the oracle at Delphi declaring that no one was wiser than Socrates. Puzzled since he knew nothing, Socrates embarked on a quest to find someone wiser. He questioned politicians, poets, and artisans, and in each case, he discovered the same thing: they thought they knew a great deal. But under his gentle, probing questions, their supposed knowledge crumbled into contradiction. He concluded that his wisdom lay only in this: he knew that he knew nothing. This is the heart of the Socratic method, or Elenchus philosophy by refutation. The book masterfully breaks down this process, using Plato's dialogue Euthyphro as a case study. Socrates asks, "What is piety?" and systematically dismantles every definition Euthyphro offers, not to humiliate him, but to help him and us achieve a state of aporia, or fruitful confusion. This confusion is the necessary first step to clearing away false beliefs and opening the mind to a genuine search for truth. But Socrates wasn't just a refuter. He was a philosophical midwife, helping others give birth to the ideas already latent within them. His goal wasn't just intellectual clarity, it was ethical improvement. By helping people think more clearly, he helped them live better lives. From Socrates, we move to his contemporaries and rivals, the Sophists, focusing on the brilliant Protagoras. Plato painted the Sophists as immoral rhetoricians, who taught the rich how to win arguments for a hefty fee. But beyond Stoicism offers a more nuanced view. Protagoras' philosophy was built on three pillars. First, orthorrhapia, or right speech, the critical importance of understanding the meaning of words to avoid talking past one another. Second, and most famously, his claim that man is the measure of all things. This is often misread as a crude anything-goes relativism. The book clarifies that for Protagoras, this meant that our human perceptions and needs are the ultimate standard for our values. What seems hot to one person can seem cold to another, and both perceptions are true for the individual. He extended this to culture, arguing that what seems just to a city is just for that city, so long as it maintains it a crucial qualifier that prevents a collapse into total moral chaos. A law or custom is only good if it genuinely contributes to the flourishing and stability of the community. Third, Protagoras was a staunch agnostic, famously stating concerning the gods, "I have no means of knowing whether they exist or not." Many things prevent knowledge, including the obscurity of the subject and the brevity of human life. This reasoned skepticism is a powerful tool for intellectual humility. Finally, the Port of Doubt introduces us to the formal schools of skepticism. We meet Carneades, the head of Plato's Academy during its skeptical phase. The story of his diplomatic mission to Rome is a masterclass in skeptical practice. One day, he delivered a brilliant, persuasive speech in favor of the Stoic view of natural justice. The next day, in the very same spot, he delivered an equally brilliant speech demolishing that view, arguing that justice is merely a convention of the weak. His Roman audience was incensed and confused, but his goal wasn't to promote injustice. It was to demonstrate that compelling arguments exist on both sides of complex issues, and that we should therefore suspend absolute judgment. Instead of certainty, Carneades proposed the criterion of the Pythanon, the plausible or the probable. He outlined a system for evaluating our impressions, from the merely apparently true to the thoroughly explored. A framework that astonishingly prefigures modern Bayesian reasoning. It's a practical guide for acting decisively in an uncertain world, not based on infallible truth, but on a careful weighing of probabilities. This entire port challenges our modern obsession with certainty and expertise. It suggests that a profound form of wisdom comes from embracing doubt, from developing the skill to navigate a world of grays rather than demanding the comfort of black and white. It teaches us that the most intelligent position is often not a firm conclusion, but a well-reasoned and humble uncertainty. So, after this grand tour of ancient wisdom, why is Beyond Stoicism the book you need to read right now? What makes it so radically different from the countless other books on Stoicism or ancient philosophy? Its unique essence lies in its intellectual generosity and its profound respect for the reader. This is not a book written by a guru from on high, handing down the one true path. It's a book written by fellow travelers, practitioners who have found a home in one philosophical port, but possess the wisdom and curiosity to know that there are other shores worth exploring. They don't just tell you about these philosophies, they invite you to live them. The 5-day exercises at the end of each chapter are not an afterthought. They are the soul of the book. They are ingeniously designed to let you test drive each philosophy, to feel its texture, its demands, and its rewards in the context of your own 21st century life. You'll try to own your pleasures like Aristippus, manage your desires like Epicurus, find the virtuous mean like Aristotle, practice the dichotomy of control like Epictetus, and defy convention like Hipparchia. This experiential approach is what sets the book apart. It transforms philosophy from something you read about into something you do. So who is this book for? It is for the person who has read a book on Stoicism and thought, this is powerful, but something is missing. It's for the intellectually restless individual who is tired of simplistic life hacks and craves a deeper, more nuanced toolkit for living. It's for the person who suspects that a good life might involve both the serene discipline of the Stoics and the joyful camaraderie of the Epicureans. It's for the seeker who understands that thinking clearly and doubting wisely are just as important as being virtuous. And who is this book not for? It is not for the person seeking a quick fix or a simple, dogmatic set of rules. It is not for the reader who wants to be told what to think. This book demands engagement, reflection, and a willingness to be uncomfortable. It requires the courage to question your own assumptions and the humility to learn from thinkers who lived 2 millennia ago. The single most valuable takeaway is the deep-seated confidence that you are capable of crafting your own philosophy of life. You will walk away from this book not as a convert to a particular school, but as an empowered philosophical artisan, equipped with a rich palette of ideas and a practical set of tools. You will learn that the goal isn't to become a perfect Stoic or a perfect Epicurean, but to become a more excellent, more intentional, and more flourishing version of yourself. We began with a paradox that searching for a single philosophy might be the obstacle to a good life. We've journeyed through the philosophical ports of pleasure, character, and doubt, and seen that the ancients offered not one map, but many. Each chart, each compass, was designed for a different kind of sea, for a different kind of soul. The ultimate purpose of this journey, and of the book Beyond Stoicism, is not to tell you which map is correct. It is to teach you how to read them all, how to synthesize their wisdom, and how to become the master navigator of your own existence. This summary has offered you a glimpse of the charts, a taste of the sea air. But to truly feel the pull of the tide, to learn the rigging, to feel the ship respond to your hand on the tiller, you must embark on the voyage yourself. Reading this book is that voyage. It's an active, transformative experience that will challenge you, inspire you, and ultimately empower you. Don't just settle for the travel brochure. Take the journey. The link to purchase your copy of Beyond Stoicism is in the description below. Invest in this experience, and you will not just be buying a book, you will be claiming your right to build a life of purpose on your own terms. And as you dive into its pages, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the books that change lives. Now go and set your sails.